Commander Kim Jina stepped off the shuttle onto the rocky surface of Kepler-4 for to see, her boots crunching on the strange purple sand. The twin suns cast long shadows across the landscape, making everything look like an old photograph. She had been too many dead planets before, but something about this one felt different. Temperature is stable, reported Park Min-ho, checking his scanner. Air is breathable, but I still recommend keeping masks on. He was the team's scientist, always careful about safety. Behind him, Lieutenant Han Sora was already setting up the equipment they would need for the dig. Kim looked at the ruins spread out before them. From orbit, they had looked like natural rock formations. But now, standing close, she could see the truth. These were buildings, human buildings. The walls were made from concrete and metal, with designs she recognized from Earth's colonial handbook. But that was impossible. Dr. Lee, she called to their historian. What do our records say about this sector? Dr. Lee Do-yan pulled out his datapad and scrolled through files. According to Federation archives, the first human ships reached this area only 40 years ago. They found no signs of previous human presence. Kim walked closer to the nearest structure. The walls were thick and strong, built to last. Blast marks scarred the concrete, and she could see where metal plates had been welded over windows. These people had been under attack. Commander Sora called from inside what looked like a communications building. You need to see this. Kim followed the lieutenant inside. The building was dark, but their lights showed rows of computer terminals and radio equipment. Everything was old, but still in working condition. On one wall hung a faded banner with Earth's symbol, a blue and green circle surrounded by stars. SORA pointed to a terminal that was still blinking with a weak power source. I found this message in the system. It's dated 63 years ago. Kim read the text on the screen. Her blood ran cold. Day 847 of the siege. Food running low. The children keep asking when the rescue ships are coming. We tell them soon, like we always do. But I don't know how much longer we can hold out. Command promised they would come back for us. They said Earth never abandons her children. We still believe them. We have too. The message was signed by someone named Captain Oh Sung-min. Kim felt sick. 63 years ago. That was during Earth's resource wars, when different countries were fighting for control of space. Someone had sent people here and then forgotten about them. Keep searching, she ordered. I want to know everything about this place. Over the next few hours, her team made more disturbing discoveries. In the residential area, they found homes that had been turned into bunkers. Furniture was stacked against windows. Children's toys were scattered on floors, dolls, toy spaceships, coloring books with pictures of Earth that the children had never seen. Minho found a small school building, where someone had written lessons on a blackboard. The last lesson was about Earth's geography. A child had written, "When can we visit Earth?" in crayon, on the wall below it. In the medical center, Dr. Nam Soo-yoon had kept detailed records of the colony's final days. The logs told a terrible story. Unknown attackers had come from space, metal creatures that learned from every battle. The colonists had fought for over 2 years, waiting for help that never came. The worst discovery was in the colony's cemetery. Hundreds of graves, with simple markers. Many were small graves. Too many were small graves. Kim found herself standing at the colony's command center as the alien suns began to set. The building was larger than the others, built like a fortress. Inside, she could see where the colonists had made their final stand. Weapons were still lying where they had fallen. Emergency rations were stacked in corners, carefully rationed to last as long as possible. Han Sora approached her carefully. "Commander, we found something else." She led Kim to a sealed room behind the command center. Inside was a nursery. Cribs lined the walls, and toys hung from the ceiling. On one wall, someone had painted a mural of earth-green forests, blue oceans, white clouds, below the mural. Written in careful letters were the words, "For the children who will see the real Earth someday." Kim had to leave the room. Outside, she looked up at the alien stars and tried to control her anger. Someone had sent these people to die alone. Someone in Earth's government had decided these lives didn't matter. "Pack everything," she told her team. "Every record, every message, every piece of evidence. We're taking it all back to command." "What are you going to do?" asked Dr. Lee. Kim looked back at the ruined colony one more time. "I'm going to make sure everyone knows what happened here, and then we're going to find the other colonies." "Other colonies?" Minho asked. "This was called Operation Distant Shore," Kim said, reading from the command center's files. 12 ships, 12 colonies. We've found one." She turned to face her team. "That means 11 more groups of people are still out there, waiting for Earth to remember them." The shuttle lifted off from Kepler 4-4 to sea an hour later, carrying the evidence of humanity's shame. But it also carried something else, the determination to make things right. The meeting room on Terra Station was quiet, except for the sound of Admiral Cho Kangman turning pages in the classified file. Commander Kim Jina sat across from him, watching his face grow more troubled with each document he read. The evidence from Kepler 4-4 to sea was spread across the table like pieces of a broken puzzle. "I remember this," Admiral Cho said finally, his voice heavy. "I was just a young officer then, working in the Colonial Planning Department. Operation Distant Shore. We thought we were heroes." Kim leaned forward. "Tell me what happened." The Admiral closed the file and looked out the window at Earth spinning slowly below them. It was 2157. The resource wars were at their worst. China, America, and the European Union were all racing to claim the best planets before the others could get there. Each side was launching secret colony missions. Secret missions, completely off the books. The idea was to establish human settlements on strategic worlds, then reveal them after the wars ended. Whoever had the most colonies would control interstellar trade. Cho rubbed his forehead. 12 ships launched from different Earth nations. Each carried 4,000 colonists. Kim felt her stomach drop. 48,000 people, families, mostly scientists, engineers, farmers, teachers, people who believed they were pioneers building humanity's future. The Admiral's hands clenched into fists. "We told them they would be the foundation of a new world. We told them Earth would always support them." Captain Yoon Ji-ho from Colonial Affairs spoke up from the corner of the room. "When the wars ended and the Federation formed, what happened to the colonies?" Cho stood and walked to the window. "Politics happened. The new Federation government wanted to start fresh. Clean slate. No reminders of the old conflicts." His voice became bitter. "Some bureaucrat decided the colonies were strategically irrelevant. The files were sealed. The missions were declared never to have existed. But the people were still out there," Kim said. "The assumption was that they would either thrive on their own, or, double quotes, Cho trailed off, or die quietly, where no one would have to answer questions." Kim finished. Dr. Lee Do-yeon had been quiet during the discussion, but now he spoke up. "I've been analyzing the attack patterns we found on Kepler 4-4 to see that weapon signatures match something in our military database." He activated a holographic display. "These are hegemony collective drone weapons." The room went silent. Everyone knew about the hegemony collective, the machine intelligence that humanity had fought in the border wars 15 years ago. It had been humanity's first major war with an alien species. "That's impossible," Captain Yoon said. "First contact with the collective wasn't until 2195. Not first contact," Dr. Lee corrected. "First official contact. But the evidence shows they were attacking human colonies decades earlier." He pulled up more data. The colonists of Kepler 442c fought machine attackers for over 2 years. They called them metal creatures that learn from every battle. Kim felt pieces clicking together in her mind. The forgotten colonies were the first targets. They were fighting the collective alone, with no support, no reinforcements. Admiral Cho returned to his seat, suddenly looking very old. While Earth's politicians were celebrating the end of the resource wars and the birth of the Federation, 48,000 people were dying in space, waiting for help that was never coming. How many colonies have we confirmed destroyed? Captain Yoon asked. Kim checked her reports. 4 confirmed dead. But the transmission we found mentioned other colonies still fighting. Some might have survived longer. Dr. Lee brought up a star map showing the locations where the colony ships had been sent. Red dots marked the dead colonies they had found. Yellow dots showed the 8 locations they had not yet investigated. We need to check every one of these, Kim said. That would require a major fleet operation, Captain Yoon said. Ships, supplies, medical support. The cost would be enormous. The cost? Kim's voice was sharp. Captain, we're talking about our own people. Humans who trusted Earth to remember them. Admiral Cho was studying the star map. Some of these locations are in collective space now. Getting there would be dangerous. More dangerous than being abandoned for 60 years, Kim asked. The Admiral smiled grimly. Point taken. He activated his communication system. This is Admiral Cho to Fleet Command. I'm authorizing Operation Homecoming. We're going to find every last one of our lost colonies. All of them, Captain Yoon asked. Every single one. Dead or alive. We're bringing our people home. The Admiral turned to Kim. Commander, I'm giving you everything you need. Ships, personnel, equipment. Find them. Kim stood at attention. Yes, sir. What are our orders regarding any survivors we might find? Full evacuation and resettlement, if they want it. Medical care, education for the children, compensation for what they've suffered, and ... double quotes. An official apology from Earth for what we did to them. As the meeting ended, Kim remained behind to study the star map. 8 yellow dots in the darkness of space. 8 chances to find people who had been waiting 60 years for rescue. 8 opportunities to prove that humanity didn't abandon its own. She traced the path to the furthest colony, New Taejong, located in what was now the edge of collective territory. If anyone had survived out there, they would be the strongest, the most determined. We're coming, she whispered to the stars. We never forgot. We just lost our way for a while. Commander Kim Jina's fleet had grown to 15 ships over the past 3 months. Each vessel was packed with supplies, medical equipment, and personnel trained for rescue operations. As they approached the 5th colony site on their list, Kim felt the familiar weight of dread in her stomach. So far, they had found only graves and ruins. Approaching New Busan colony, reported Lieutenant Han Sora from the navigation station. Sensors are picking up the remains of orbital defenses. Kim studied the tactical display. The planet below showed scorch marks visible even from space. What had once been green continents were now brown and gray. Take us down to the main settlement. The shuttle bay of the colony was still intact, though blast doors had been melted shut from the inside. Kim's team used cutting tools to get through, their lights piercing the darkness beyond. Inside, they found something that made Kim's blood run cold. The colonists had turned their shuttle bay into a fortress. Barricades made from furniture, machinery, and even children's playground equipment stretched across the space. Behind these barriers, they found the remains of the colonies. Final defenders. Commander, Dr. Lee Doyen, called from across the bay. There's something here you need to see. Kim walked over to where Dr. Lee was kneeling beside a makeshift command post. A skeleton in a military uniform sat in a chair, still facing the main entrance. In front of him was a datapad with a message still glowing on the screen. Final entry, Captain Lim Yeho commanding. Day 1247 of the siege. We've held them off for 3 years, but our ammunition is gone. The machines broke through the outer walls this morning. We're making our final stand here in the shuttle bay. If anyone finds this message, tell Earth that New Busan colony died fighting. We never stopped believing rescue would come. Tell our families we love them until the end. Kim closed her eyes and took a deep breath. 3 years. These people had fought for 3 years. The date stamp shows this was written 58 years ago. Dr. Lee said quietly. Park Min-ho was examining the blast patterns on the walls. These weapon marks are definitely collective technology. But look at this. He pointed to areas where the metal had been patched and repatched. The colonists were repairing battle damage and fighting again. They never gave up. Over the next few days, Kim's team explored the entire colony. What they found told a story of incredible courage and determination. The colonists had built underground tunnels connecting every building. Schools had been moved to the deepest basements, where children had continued their lessons, even during attacks. In the medical center, they found Dr. Park Yuna's final log entry. We've run out of antibiotics, but we're still treating the wounded with whatever we can find. The children are asking why Earth hasn't come to help us. I don't know what to tell them anymore, but we keep fighting because we're human, and humans don't surrender. The colony's workshop showed evidence of incredible ingenuity. The colonists had built weapons from mining equipment, created armor from construction materials, and even constructed makeshift aircraft from shuttle parts. Every scrap of metal had been turned into something useful for the war effort. Lieutenant Colonel Park Hyun-woo, Kim's military advisor, was amazed by what he saw. These people were fighting a war against advanced alien technology, with farming tools and mining equipment. The tactical decisions they made were brilliant. How long do you think they held out? Kim asked. Based on the battle damage and repair patterns, I'd say they fought active resistance for at least 5 years, maybe longer. Park Hyun-woo shook his head. With proper military support, they could have won. The worst discovery was in the colony's communication center. The colonists had sent messages to Earth every day for the first 2 years of the siege. The messages grew more desperate over time, but they never stopped believing help would come. Day 203. Still no response from Earth Command. We know you must be busy, but we really need those supply ships you promised. Day 467. The attacks are getting worse. We've lost the mining station. Please send military support as soon as possible. Day 891. We know Earth hasn't forgotten us. The children made drawings to send home when the rescue ships arrive. We're still holding the line. Day 1156. If anyone receives this, know that New Busan colony fought with honor. We never lost faith in Earth. Kim found herself crying as she read the messages. These people had died believing Earth would save them, never knowing they had been abandoned by politicians who found them inconvenient. Ma'am, Ensign Beek Su-yang called from the communications station. I'm picking up similar patterns from the next colony site. New Seoul shows signs of prolonged battle as well. Over the following weeks, Kim's fleet visited 3 more colony sites. New Seoul had fought for 4 years. New Incheon had lasted 6 years, building incredible underground cities to hide their children. New Daegu had been overrun quickly, but not before sending detailed battle reports that would help the other colonies fight longer. Each site told the same story. Ordinary people turning into warriors, families becoming armies, civilians creating miracles of engineering and tactics, all of them waiting for Earth to remember its promise. Standing on the bridge of her flagship, Kim studied the tactical map. 3 colony sites remained: New Gwangju, New Dagan, and the most distant one, New Taejong, in the outer rim. Set course for New Gwangju, she ordered, and prepare the fleet for anything. If anyone survived 60 years of this hell, they're going to be the strongest humans who ever lived. The sensors went crazy as Commander Kim Jina's fleet dropped out of hyperspace near the new Taejong system. Lieutenant Han Sora stared at her readings in disbelief. "Commander, I'm picking up active energy signatures. Multiple sources. These aren't natural formations." Kim felt her heart skip a beat. After finding 7 dead colonies, she had almost given up hope of finding anyone alive. "Show me." The main screen lit up with an image that took everyone's breath away. Around the small planet hung a network of orbital stations, clearly built, from salvaged spaceship parts and mining equipment. Solar collectors gleamed in the light of the system's red sun. Most incredible of all, the structures were obviously maintained and active. "Ma'am," Ensign Beek Su-Yang called from communications. "I'm receiving a transmission. It's human. Put it through." The static cleared, and suddenly the bridge was filled with a voice that shook with emotion. "Federation vessels, this is Captain Oh Sung-men of New Taejong Colony. Please respond. Are you real?" Kim grabbed the communication microphone with trembling hands. "Captain Oh, this is Commander Kim Jina, Federation Deep Space Command. We're real, and we've come to bring you home." The silence stretched for long seconds. Then they heard a sound that many of Kim's crew would remember for the rest of their lives, a grown man crying with relief. "We knew you'd come," Captain O finally said, his voice stronger now. 61 years, 4 months, and 16 days. We kept count. We knew Earth wouldn't abandon us forever. As Kim's shuttle descended through the planet's atmosphere, she could see the incredible fortress the colonists had built. The original colony buildings were still there, but now they were connected by massive walls and defensive towers. The entire settlement looked like a medieval castle mixed with a space station, landing in the main courtyard. Kim stepped out to find herself facing a man whose white hair and lined face spoke of decades of hardship, but whose eyes burned with unbroken determination. Behind him stood about 50 people of all ages, from elderly survivors to children who had been born on this distant world. "Captain Oh Sung-min," the man introduced himself with a salute. 217 souls. "Still breathing, Commander. We started with 4,000, but we never stopped fighting." Kim returned the salute, then did something that surprised everyone, including herself. She stepped forward and hugged the old captain. "We're sorry," she whispered. "We're so sorry it took us this long." Captain O led Kim and her team on a tour of the colony. What they saw was nothing short of miraculous. The colonists had built underground factories where they manufactured weapons and equipment. Hydroponic farms filled former storage areas, growing food in the red light of their artificial suns. Children attended school in reinforced bunkers, learning Earth history from teachers who had never seen their home planet. "The machines attack every few months," explained engineer Kong Juan, whose left arm had been replaced with a mechanical prosthetic she had built herself. "We've learned their patterns over the decades. When the raids come, everyone knows their job." Dr. Nam Soo-yoon, now in her 80s, still ran the colony's medical center. "We've had to become very creative with medicine," she said with a tired smile. "But we've kept our people alive. The children born here are as healthy as any on Earth." Colonel Lim Daeon took Kim to the colony's war room, where tactical displays showed the defensive network they had built across the planet. "The collective drones are predictable," he explained. "They attack in waves, always trying the same approaches. We've been killing them for 60 years. How many attacks have you survived?" Kim asked. 734 major assaults, thousands of smaller raids." The colonel's voice was matter-of-fact. "We stopped counting individual drone kills after we reached 1 million. Kim stared at the battle records. These people had been fighting a war longer than most Federation officers had been alive. "How did you keep going? How did you not give up?" Captain O answered from behind her. "Because we're human, Commander. And humans don't abandon humans. We told that to every child born here, every person who died here. Earth would remember us. Eventually, that evening, Kim attended a celebration feast in the colony's main hall. The food was simple: vegetables from their underground farms and protein from creatures they had learned to hunt on the planet. But the joy in the room was overwhelming. A young woman named Chen Arium, born on New Taejong 25 years ago, stood to make a speech. "My grandmother used to tell me stories about Earth," she said, "about blue skies and green forests, about cities with millions of people. I never thought I would see Earth, but I never stopped believing it existed. Tonight, Earth came to us." After dinner, Kim walked with Captain O to the colony's memorial wall. Thousands of names were carved into the metal, all the people who had died waiting for rescue. "Do you want to leave?" Kim asked. "We can evacuate everyone to Earth, or any Federation world you choose." Captain O looked up at the alien stars. "Some will want to leave, especially the families with young children. But many of us will stay. This is our home now. We built it with our blood and sweat." He smiled. "Besides, someone needs to keep killing collective drones. We're very good at it." Kim laughed, despite her tears. "Yes, you are. When you get back to Earth," Captain O said quietly, "tell them we kept faith. Tell them New Taejong Colony never surrendered." "I'll tell everyone," Kim promised. "The whole galaxy will know your story." The great assembly hall on Earth had never been so quiet. 10,000 representatives from every human world sat in absolute silence as the survivors of New Taejong Colony walked down the center aisle. Captain Oh Sungmin led the group, his back straight despite his age. Behind him walked the other survivors, people who had spent their entire lives fighting a war that Earth had forgotten about. Admiral Kim Jina watched from the military section as the survivors took their seats. In the front row, she had been promoted after Operation Homecoming became the most talked about mission in Federation history. Every news channel, every social media platform, every conversation on every human world was about the forgotten colonies. President Moon Jongdae stood at the main podium, holding a thick folder of documents. His hands shook slightly as he opened it. "Citizens of the Federation," he began, his voice carrying 2 billion of people watching across human space. "Today, we face the darkest chapter in our history. 60 years ago, Earth abandoned 48,000 of our own people. We told them we would come back for them. We lied." The silence in the hall was so complete that Kim could hear people breathing. On the giant screens around the room, images showed the ruined colonies, the graves, the desperate messages, the evidence of people who died waiting for help that never came. 45,783 people died alone. In space because politicians decided they were inconvenient, President Moon continued. They died believing Earth would remember them. They died defending worlds we didn't even know were under attack. Fleet Admiral Jung Hunky stepped forward and called Captain O to the podium. The old man moved slowly, but with dignity. When he reached the microphone, he looked out at the vast audience. "My name is Captain Oh Sungmin," he said simply. 6 years ago, I was a young colony leader who believed Earth would protect us. I still believe that. Not because Earth never failed us, but because Earth learned from its mistakes." His words hit the assembly like thunder. Here was a man who had every right to be angry, every reason to hate Earth, and he was talking about forgiveness. "The young people on New Taejong ask me about Earth. They ask me if the blue skies are really blue, if the oceans are really endless, if there are really cities with millions of people." Captain O smiled. "I tell them yes. I tell them Earth is beautiful. I tell them Earth is home, even for those of us who never saw it." President Moon presented Captain O with a medal, the highest honor the Federation could give. But more importantly, he handed him a document. "The Never Again Treaty," President Moon announced, "signed into Federation law today. No human settlement, no matter how small or distant, will ever be abandoned again. Every colony ship that launches will have the full protection of Earth behind it. Every human being who plants a flag on a new world will know that flag means something. The crowd erupted in applause, but Kim noticed that many people were crying. The shame of what had happened 60 years ago was mixed with pride in what humanity was becoming. Dr. Chen Ariam, the young woman who had been born on New Taejong, approached the podium next. At 25, she had never seen Earth before this trip, but she spoke with the confidence of someone who had helped defend her world since childhood. I want to tell you about my friend Minho, she said. He died 3 years ago, fighting collective drones. He was 16. Before he died, he made me promise something. He made me promise that if Earth ever came for us, I would tell you that we never stopped believing. We never stopped hoping. We never stopped being human. Her words brought fresh tears to many eyes in the audience. This young woman represented something incredible, a generation of humans who had been forged in war but never lost their humanity. The ceremony continued with the reading of names. Every person who had died in the forgotten colonies was remembered. Every child who had grown up wondering why Earth didn't come was honored. It took 6 hours to read all the names, and the assembly sat through every minute of it. Later that evening, Kim found Captain O standing alone on the observation deck of the orbital station, looking down at Earth's blue and white surface. "Beautiful, isn't it?" she said, joining him at the railing. "More beautiful than any story could describe," he replied. "My wife would have loved to see this. She died 10 years ago, still believing we would make it home someday." "She did make it home," Kim said gently. "Everyone who died in those colonies is remembered now. Their sacrifice means something." Captain O nodded. "The young ones want to stay on Earth, get educations, see the cities. I understand that. But some of us old fighters are going back to New Taejong. Why? Because it's our home now. And because the collective drones are still out there. Somebody needs to keep killing them." He smiled. "We're very good at it." Kim laughed. "Yes, you are." "When the next generation of colony ships launches," Captain O said, "they'll go knowing. They'll never be forgotten. That's worth everything we suffered." He turned to look at Kim directly. "Promise me something, Admiral. Promise me that Earth will remember this lesson." Kim stood at attention and saluted. "Earth remembers, Captain. Earth remembers." Below them, the blue planet turned slowly in space, carrying forward the promise that no human would ever be abandoned again.